The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Ladies and gentlemen, basketball fans, a tragedy has befallen the world of basketball. Earlier today, at the age of 41, Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash. In 20 seasons with the Lakers, Kobe was a 17-time All-Star, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and 5-time NBA champion. The NBA and the game of basketball will mourn this loss together. Please join us in a moment of silence for Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Mamba.
It's a Full Court Press on a Monday, and folks still reacting and trying to make sense of what happened yesterday with the passing of Kobe Bryant at just the age of 41. That was the moment of silence in the game between the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets yesterday. And there were many other tributes throughout the NBA. We'll get through some of those and some of the other things we might anticipate could happen tonight when the Utah Jazz take on the Houston Rockets. And some players opting not to play last night, just to overcome with emotion and their inability to play. Others felt like they owed it to Kobe Bryant to still play the game of basketball yesterday in reaction to the news. But certainly a wave of grief has passed throughout the sport of basketball beyond just the NBA, those in college and some in professional, and those that weren't even connected with him but watched him play and the type of person and competitor that he was. A lot of us reacting to the news yesterday about Kobe Bryant's tragic loss, and also with his daughter and others that were on board that helicopter on a Sunday morning. So a sad moment throughout the NBA and for the Kobe Bryant family. And we just heard there at the top of the hour, just breaking within the last 20, 30 minutes or so, the NBA has worked with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers. They were set to play each other tomorrow, and the league has postponed that game. Just it's too soon. It's too close to the tragedy and those that are involved with the operations and everything else with that game. The two Los Angeles teams playing each other, that has been postponed and will be taking place at a later date. So that when that becomes known, when that gets rescheduled, we'll pass that along. But as of right now, there's not a date set for that. But if this was I'll be honest, I wasn't necessarily a big Kobe Bryant fan because some of his, he was always such a good player, and it always seemed to be the run up against the Jazz, and the Jazz had a hard time getting past him, except for when he was that young player, and he chucked up a bunch of air balls against the Karl Malone and John Stockton-led Utah Jazz, and there was a lot of trash talk from those Lakers that they were going to roll through and sweep the Jazz and go to the Western Conference Finals, and John and Karl and company had something else to say about that. But in his later years, great competitor and dispatched the Utah Jazz on numerous of occasions in the playoffs, and always made it tough to root for Kobe Bryant because he was always, as a Jazz fan personally, he was dispatching the Jazz and sending them home. But from afar, I always admired him for his competitiveness, and always was kind of like an on-court coach, like we see many talk about how this is the same thing with LeBron James. Certainly, he had some things off the court that there was a lot of things he kind of got in trouble for when he was recovering from some surgery and he was in Colorado. There was an allegation and some impropriety that didn't go over very well. but he mended whatever it was that was going on, became a strong family man, and was doing things with his family and with his daughters. And so anyway, it's a tragedy, and he was committed to do more things post-basketball, and I was always interested to see what Kobe Bryant would do if he ever were to get back into the game of basketball as a coach, as in management, if somehow he would work his way back into it, or if he would pursue things outside of basketball in different ways. Now we'll never know. Something else that was interesting, that we've going to be lots of tributes that they started pouring out yesterday. There'll be more over the coming days. But then the groups of radio stations in the Los Angeles area, different ownerships, they all came together and decided cohesively to all come together. And earlier today, they all observed at the exact same time a moment of silence for Kobe Bryant. And we see that there will be more things that will happen as a result to honor him in his life and things that he did. We heard the moment of silence there just a moment ago from the opening start of the Rockets-Nuggets game. This was something else that was really interesting that took place. This was between the Clippers and I believe it was the Toronto Raptors. I have to go back and double check this. But this is the play-by-play on KLAC radio yesterday. This is what the two teams did to start the game. And we saw other teams did something very similar throughout the day last night, and we may see more of it throughout the day tonight as games pick up again this evening. But this is how some other teams chose to pay tribute from the players themselves for the great Kobe Bryant.
Zubas goes up, tips it back for Harkless, who hands it off for Landry Shamet. He'll walk it from left to right. Now, most teams who already tipped off today have taken a 24-second shot clock violation to honor Kobe Bryant, and that's exactly what the Clippers plan on doing. Amway Center puts up Kobe Bryant's picture on the Jumbotron, and the entire arena gets up on their feet for a standing ovation. Shamet dribbling with the right hand, 1 second remaining. That's a shot clock violation to start this game. 24 seconds for the number 24 of the Los Angeles Lakers. It is hanging up in the rafters at Staples Center, and the Clippers honor the Black Mamba the right way. So Fournier will inbound to the backcourt, bounce pass for Fultz, and the Magic will do the exact same thing. We will have back-to-back 24-second shot clock violations to start this game. Both teams will take the turnover in honor of the late Kobe Bryant. Passed away at the age of 41 today. And it'll be an 8-second violation there to honor his other number of 8. He wore both 8 and 24. Both are retired in the rafters for one of the greatest careers in NBA history.
So it was the Orlando Magic, But, what a lot of NBA teams have done is they'll take a 24-second violation to honor Kobe Bryant's number 24, jersey number 24, and then the opposing team will not cross half court and get an 8-second violation and to honor his number 8 jersey that he wore. Both retired in the rafters at the Staples Center. The Utah Jazz will play tonight. They'll play the Houston Rockets, and I would not be surprised if we saw something similar from the Utah Jazz as an organization. Certainly there are connections with Utah Jazz to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's last game as a player was against the Jazz. Bryant outscored the Jazz in that fourth quarter 23-21. ESPN has announced that they are going to re-air that last game. And as a Jazz fan, that was a little painful to watch, but it was a fitting tribute and a fitting end for Kobe Bryant. There are Jazz players that played with him. Ed Davis was on our Lakers roster with Kobe Bryant. And certainly Quinn Snyder was an assistant coach for a time on the Lakers bench and knew Kobe Bryant personally as well. So a lot of different connections throughout the league from players that knew him personally, that played with him, that were connected with him, and others who checked in with him and sought his advice about different things as well. So the NBA and basketball community today mourning the loss of Kobe Bryant. And as you might suspect, a lot of different tributes and different things that are being shared from other players around the league, sharing their thoughts upon the passing of Kobe Bryant. They're having a hard time dealing with that. But some of the collection of some of those that had some things to say when they heard the news and felt composed enough to go out on social media, or those who were approached after games about their relationship and just how they reacted to the news about the loss of Kobe Bryant. Carmelo Anthony, one of those who had a game for the Blazers. We heard some of the audio of that game as it got started, but this is some of the post-game comments. This is from Carmelo Anthony, who did have a relationship with Kobe Bryant. Spoke to him recently, had dinner with him recently in New York, and he did play last night. Thought that it was something that Kobe Bryant would have wanted him to do, but it was emotionally and mentally really difficult to do.
This probably was probably the hardest game I ever had to play. I don't know. Whew. It was tough.
Another player who has been in the league a very long time, saw Kobe when he was young and battled against him even before in the NBA, is Vince Carter, the ageless wonder, and certainly has seen Kobe Bryant and had many battles against him over the years.
I've known Kobe since he was 15 years old, and I was 16, playing AAU basketball. And we go through 18 years of competing and talking junk and about to fight each other and congratulating each other and hating each other, enjoying each other in 18 years. And it's tough to pick one. He was a fierce competitor, went up against the best in the NBA, so he was highly revered, highly respected. Even among those, the stars of today, including Kawhi Leonard, who said that, made some comments after their game yesterday, similarly like Carmelo Anthony, said that Kobe would have wanted him to play.
Wanting to win the game, wanting to finish out the road trip great. Just knowing him personally, I know he'd have wanted me to come out here and try to ball and, still just be great. So, that's what I tried to do tonight. I mean, everybody's sad, you know what I mean? Words can explain his impact he had on this floor. The emotional impact he had on everybody, you know what I mean? We're a team from LA, so we know LA's history with him. And, it's just sad.
And we're learning through this all the different connections that Kobe Bryant had and the influence that he had on many other players that maybe you wouldn't suspect if they weren't teammates of his, if they weren't part of the organization that he was a part of. But he had far-reaching impact and connections with a lot of different players and people connected with the game of basketball. One of those is DeMar DeRozan, who says that he really wouldn't even be in the NBA if it wasn't for Kobe Bryant.
Everything. Everything I learned came from Kobe. Everything. Take Kobe away, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have love. I wouldn't have the passion, the drive. Everything. Everything came from everything. Everything came from everything I've learned basketball-wise from Kobe, what he meant to the game, the inspiration that he brought to the world. Not just that, his daughter. I'm a father. I can't imagine something like that, happening. I mean, it's a sad, very sad day.
And even a little bit closer to home, some players that are connected to Utah one way or another. That one certainly is Damian Lillard, played his college basketball at Weber State, but has had a tremendous career at Portland, saying that recently he had received some encouraging words from Kobe and regarded him as a mentor.
On the bench, he just was, just dropping so much knowledge on me and just kind of comforting me. Like, when you get out there, just shoot. Be confident. You belong here. You could have been here last year. Just his words meant so much to me in that time.
Some of these players, their only connection with Kobe Bryant was from, all-star games, opportunities to play on the same team, on the same court with him like that. But others did have some other connections and relationships with him, including, surprisingly, Gordon Hayward.
I've had a relationship with him, and he's been nice enough to, take his time. It took his time out and then showed me things, or texted me, the message that he sent me. And so, it was tough.
So it is tough. It's tragic. We could go all day with some of the different comments and tributes that were shared by former players or current players, coaches, others within the organization of basketball who were connected with him in one form or another. But Ajay, this is a tragic day for basketball. You're a big Kobe Bryant fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I wasn't a Lakers fan. I was a Kobe's fan. I was one of those guys, right? In fact, he held such I held such a deep appreciation for him because, look, I love Michael Jordan, greatest of all time, but I didn't really understand the game of basketball until Kobe Bryant came along and started playing. That's when I started to understand the game of basketball, how things ran, what things meant, motions, actions, stuff like that. And so as I watched Kobe grow up and play the game, being from the 17-year-old kid and onward, I grew a deep, deep, deep appreciation for him. In fact, I remember I have two stories. First one was actually with you guys. First time I ever was on the full court press was with you and Weston. And we were you guys were getting ready for Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals versus the Lakers in 2009. And you had someone from the Jazz Radio Network on, and we interviewed him, and I had a chance to ask him a couple of questions, and we talked, and I kind of, in an almost an ignorant manner, ignorant manner, I guess is the word to use, is I bragged about how much I loved Kobe. And I remember Weston giving this look of like, what are you doing? And I go home, my dad was pissed, right? So I was on my first radio show, so excited to go home to my dad. My dad's like, what are you sitting there talking about Kobe for? You're gonna get fired, or just, laying it on me. My dad did not like Kobe at all whatsoever, in any way, shape, or form. And so, but I really did. I developed this deep love and appreciation for Kobe, watching him throughout his career. And then the other one is I guess the final game of his game at Vivint Small Marina. I was in the presser, and I didn't ask any questions. I kind of just sat back, folded my arms, ducked my head. But it was just surreal. Like, I was in the same room as Kobe Bryant, watching him answer these questions. And watching him in that manner, just this guy who was appreciative of the game, appreciative of Utah. And the way he showed his appreciation and gratitude, he said, look, I hated you guys and you hated me, and that's what made it great. Because that's true. Kobe hated Utah because Utah just would lay it on him thick. Verbally, just night after night after night, and give him hell, really, is what it was. Every single time, Kobe would come out and put up 33 points, 8 assists, 4 steals on 20 of 25 shoot, whatever it is. And you're just like, gosh dang it, man. Like, how do we get rid of you? And then, of course, his final game, when he did score 61, I was in the studios at Vivint Small Marina, where our studios were, and listening to David Locke, because I was helping out with some stuff in that radio broadcast, and listening to David Locke call that game. And then the very next day, I actually had to go engineer the media day locker clean out, and seeing those guys come in and sit down and talk about Kobe and like what Kobe meant to them. Even Joe Ingles saying, it was funny. I remember this clearly, saying off record, off the air, he's like, yeah, you know what? He scored 61. If it's a regular season game and it mattered, he scores 10. They had a deep appreciation of him. They were grateful for that night, but at the same time, there was this look. If it's a game that mattered, we throttle him. We shut him up and shut him down. So
it wasn't a great Lakers team that year.
No, and it wasn't really that great of a Kobe Bryant.
No,
he just hooked up a lot of shots to put up 61 points.
Father time and injuries had caught up with him.
But
in that game, everybody was deferring to him, and it was a great moment for
right?
him. He had a great game. Honestly, when I watched that game, I was a little frustrated earlier on. Like, come on, don't just lay down for this guy.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, you know what? If the Jazz deserved to lose this game, the type of season that they had that year.
Yeah, because you remember what happened, 2 nights before when they played Dallas in a meaningful game.
They had an opportunity to seal a deal.
They get the 8th seed going into the playoffs.
Yep.
Instead, they let Dirk Nowitzki score 37 points, and Darren Williams scores 18 in the first half, and Dallas wins that one running away. So then they came to the Lakers game, and they needed Houston to lose to Sacramento. Houston beat Sacramento, so it was like, well, who gives a crap now? And so it turned into this exhibition game, is what David called it numerous times.
That's a good way to put it.
In that media walk, he said it's an exhibition game, and it turned into this Kobe All-Star game, if you will, where Kobe took 50-something shots to score 61 points, and everyone went ballistic. But you know what really hit home to me, man? And I really didn't think much of it until now, and I think you probably think more of it so. And in fact, we just got done with Coach Smith's presser, and after the presser, he kind of mentioned it too, that he had a daughter on that plane. I mean, imagine, and I'm sure there's fathers listening to us right now. This is what got me. Like, he had a daughter on that plane who must have been scared to death. And in the last moments of Kobe's life, instead of talking, the gratitude of the game, and instead of having a fun story to share with all his friends and family, instead of all that, he had to comfort his daughter and tell her it was going to be okay, even though in 6 seconds he was about to die.
I just saw some things floating around on social media earlier today. He had, in an interview in a podcast, had talked about his use of private helicopters.
Yeah.
And why he was using them so much, because traffic was an issue, and he wanted to maximize his time with his kids.
Yeah, he didn't want to go through traffic, so he'd take a copter and get to somewhere quick so he could land it and be in attendance for his kids' games.
So if you have the means, I can't fault the guy for doing that.
It's just so unfortunate that it happens this way, and I can't imagine. I swear to life, I can't imagine, because I don't have a daughter. I mean, you have kids, and Craig Smith has a little girl too. I mean, to be on that plane and to tell your daughter it's going to be okay when you're going to know, and you know full well what the result of this is going to be. I can't. It makes me absolutely gosh dang freaking sick to think about that. And man, greatest. I could go on.
What's interesting is that we were in NBA circles. We've been talking about Kobe Bryant recently because LeBron James just passed Kobe Bryant just on Saturday.
Yep, the night before.
Just the night before. So LeBron was able to wax eloquent about Kobe and the type of player that he was, the type of career that he had.
Was Kobe there, by the way?
That he's able to be in the same conversation.
Was Kobe there for that game? Do you know?
I don't know. It was in Philadelphia.
Oh, well, okay. So I'd imagine he was there then, because that's kind of his hometown.
So I don't know if he was there or not.
Because I didn't get to the game. Obviously, we were busy with Aggie stuff. But look, when I look at Kobe, I mean, so I had to get off Twitter yesterday because I couldn't do it anymore, man. I couldn't see the stories. I couldn't see the reports anymore. I couldn't see the videos. It was killing me. It was absolutely just shredding my heart. So I said, I mean, the hell with it. I'm done with it. And then this morning I woke up. It felt like a freaking bad nightmare, and obviously it wasn't. And so this morning I woke up, and Bill Simmons did a podcast, and in fact, he's actually here in Utah for Sundance. And then Kobe's Bryant death happened, and he was able to find a studio and go do this podcast with Chris Ryan. And it's so eloquent and so reverent of Kobe Bryant and who Kobe Bryant was. And Bill Simmons is this diehard Boston Celtic guy. He grew up a Celtic guy in his whole entire life. And just the way they speak of Kobe was really incredible. So I listened to that. And then I listened to Reggie Miller with Dan Patrick, which you can hear, by the way, in the morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on this very station. And then I read Jackie McMullen's article on ESPN.com. Those are the three things that I read that were deep intact of Kobe Bryant. And I didn't want to take any more. I just chose three things, read it, and listened to it, and then called it good. And there's so many things to digest about Kobe Bryant from when he was 17 years old and he airballed, 3 or 18 years old and airballed 3 shots in the playoffs against the Jazz, to where, we have this, he wins back-to-back championships with the Lakers, but then chases Shaq out, ticks off Phil to no end, to where all of a sudden this situation in Colorado comes up with the case, and then use that as motivation, become just this different type player. Change his number, change his look, change his demeanor, and as a player on the court, and became the baddest man in the NBA. Look,
and then he won 2 more titles. 5 titles.
And won MVPs in those titles, by the way. First 2.
Incredible player. And you shared some personal stories. I didn't have any personal connections with Kobe Bryant. Oddly enough, my wife did. She was going to like a high school prom in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And the Lakers were in town to play the Jazz, and it was at the same hotel, apparently. And Kobe Bryant, he's a guy just out of high school, and he was kind of wanting to hang out with the other high school kids. And he was just kind of milling around. And
just being one of the guys.
Yeah,
huh?
my wife had a chance to say hi. She didn't really know who he was, but she remembers the story fondly. And we were talking about it yesterday upon the news of his passing, about how she got to meet Kobe Bryant. And before most people really even recognized who he was or knew who he was or what he would be. But it's a fierce competitor. Whether as a Jazz fan, as a diehard Jazz fan, you probably didn't like Kobe Bryant very much and his teams. But I think it's hard not to say, look, this was a guy who was a fierce competitor, had tremendous skill, and was just tough to beat.
Well, and here's the thing. You didn't like him because you knew what he was going to do to you every time he stepped on your court in Utah. You knew what he was going to do at Energy Solutions Arena back in the day. He was going to come in, put up 30, shut you up, walk out of the arena with your, with all your integrity and whatever, and say, you know what, that was fun.
And one of the greatest closers of all time.
Absolutely.
Never shied away from the moment.
Lakers and Clippers, by the way, have been postponed tomorrow's game, so they will not play. Obviously, you already announced, and they'll have they decided when they're going to play that game, by the way?
No, they haven't announced when they'll make it up.
Yeah. Which is, it's the right thing to do. Like, you just can't right now. Now's not the time. Basketball takes a step back. Lakers basketball takes a step back. Backseat and gives room for Kobe to just that whole Kobe story to digest itself. Because 9:47 a.m. it comes out, and I got to ask you something really quickly as a media. TMZ breaks the story that Kobe was in a plane crash. The police have not. That what? Sorry, or helicopter crash. Excuse me.
It's okay.
And they break the names that Kobe was on that plane. Official authorities, police, had not done so because they were doing their due diligence on make sure that things were, they notified the proper people and took care of things. What is your thoughts on that? Like, because then Vanessa's at home. She probably hasn't heard from her husband in a while. And if we're waiting for the authorities to make contact with her, but TMZ does it, but then they find out through a social media outlet or whatever it is that he died. How do you view that?
Yeah, it can be a pretty touchy situation. I think, generally speaking, from what I've observed here in our news organization and what I've been involved with as well, is that you usually try to wait until you have show some respect to the family.
Yeah,
that at least. Authorities will not release names until families have been notified. So there certainly is that aspect of it. But at the same time, if you see somebody post something that's connected, and certainly if it is a celebrity case or a bigger name, then if you can confirm it in another way, you don't necessarily need to wait But generally speaking, you do want to wait. You want to make sure that the families are given that respect, that they get notified before the whole world knows about it.
No, and I think it's a great answer right there. It's tough because you got to let the authorities do their job. They're there to do their job, and you got to let them do that. And TMZ comes out. I just felt it was kind of irresponsible for TMZ to be like, "Hey, guess what? Kobe's in this plane. He's passed away." Like, and if that's the way Vanessa found out, it's horrible. And then the other thing that was really horrible by the media is that there's like 5 different reports. Hey, there's 4 daughters in the plane. No, the daughters weren't on the plane. Yeah, actually, there's a daughter on the plane, and then Rick Fox is there too. Rick Fox comes out, no, I'm actually not on the plane. I'm fine. Shut the hell up and quit making assumptions that you don't know was true. And that's just it's so frustrating, because the authorities are like, let's just give us some space so we can make sure that we've identified the people, contacted the loved ones, and then we'll come out with the press conference at 2:00.
Yeah, there used to be an old adage that it's better to be correct than first.
Yeah,
but I'll be honest, that is an old adage.
Yeah.
And so there is more of a need from a consumer to get the information as quickly as possible. You want the information as quickly as possible, even if it's not all the way correct. Then these organizations get what they know, then they amend it, they add to it, and continue to provide updates as it comes along. Because if you don't, then somebody else, your competitor certainly is.
Yeah, yeah. But again, I think it's more about having respect for the family. I mean, if Vanessa really did find out through TMZ or whatever the heck it was, that sucks.
By the way, the Lakers have issued their first statement since the tragedy just came out. It says, in consultation with the NBA League office, the game scheduled between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers for Tuesday, January 28th, will be postponed and scheduled for a future date. Los Angeles Lakers would like to thank all of you for the tremendous outpouring of support and condolences. This is a very difficult time for all of us. We continue to support the Bryant family and will share more information as it is available.
Do you think they should have canceled the games yesterday?
No.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I don't know how you. I don't know how you handle that.
Most players still played.
Yeah,
I know Kyrie Irving sat out. He was too overcome.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bag on any player who decided not to play.
No,
but most players that we heard from, they all felt like they owed it to Kobe Bryant to still play. He would want them to play.
Yeah, and some of the numbers were just crazy. Like Trae Young's numbers, of shooting 81%. And it was like the first time since 2006 when Kobe Bryant had done just that. And it numbs you. I mean, it just freaking numbs you, dude, that he's gone. And you know what the crappy part is? Well, yeah, okay, it's great. I mean, bittersweet is the word to use. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame. It's been announced. He's part of the 2020 class, which is going to include Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett.
Epic class.
But
I feel bad for Tim Duncan.
I feel
Garnett.
Horrible, man. Because guess what?
They will be overshadowed.
And they shouldn't be. We're talking about a 5-time world champion in Tim Duncan, one of the greatest to ever do it. And he's not going to get his due because it's all about Kobe Bryant. Like when John Stockton and David Robinson went in, right? They went in the same freaking time as who? Michael Jordan. So like, and John Stockton could care less. He was like, that's great. David Robinson, same way. Great. You guys can focus all on Michael Jordan. We're gonna accept our honor, be grateful for it, and get out of there. But Tim deserves that recognition. Kevin Garnett deserves that recognition. And we won't get to hear Kobe speak, man. Like I wanted to hear Kobe's speech in the Hall of Fame. Like to hear the stories.
Yeah, who would introduce him, I wonder.
That's a great question. I guess, Mill.
I wonder who he would choose.
No, because it has to be a Hall of Famer in the Basketball Hall of Fame to introduce him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I wonder who he would have chosen to give his introduction.
Who do you think who do you think does now? Because it has to be in the Hall of Fame to do it. That is the rule. So is it Michael? Is it Magic? Is it Kareem? Is it Jerry West?
Is it Phil?
Dude, that's a good one. It might be Phil. Did you ever feel bad for Del Harris, man? he's kind of like just a secondary thought. Like, he was the first one to coach Kobe. And you're like, man, didn't Kobe, he was coached well. Yeah, Phil Jackson. Well, I mean, there was Del no, it was Phil Jackson the whole entire time. Feel bad. Poor guy.
All right, we're overdue for a break. Call a timeout here on the Full Court Press. We'll continue to roll on. Certainly reacting to the tragic news yesterday about Kobe Bryant's passing just at the age of 41. We also got to get some other things to update you on. Utah Jazz are going to play tonight. There's already a little bit of a tribute area growing there at the Big Jazz.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, too.
There at
that's really neat.
At the stadium. They do play tonight. So some fans of basketball are leaving some things behind for in memory of the Bryant family. We'll talk about the Jazz. We've got some high school standings. They have kind of a midway point, so they have a kind of a bye this week. Only have one game, but we'll update you on the standings for high school for both the girls and the boys. Utah State men's basketball, they had a nice win over the weekend, shifting their gears to the road, where they have had the most trouble. Can they break that funk? Can they do well on the road? We'll hear from Craig Smith a little bit later on in the show as well. That's all coming up here on the Full Court Press.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen. Certainly a lot of people throughout the NBA sharing their thoughts, their emotions over the news about Kobe Bryant. One of those is Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert, who shared some of his thoughts earlier today about Kobe Bryant.
I mean, I think we did take a moment, to remember him, and before we started the preparation for tonight, we realized that there's some things that are way bigger than basketball, and we know those guys know him, play with him, so they were close to him, but they were very professional. They were very focused on the game, and at the end of the day, that's what we've been saying. He would have wanted them to come and give the best for the team anyway. So it's a good way for them to kind of get away from that and and play the game.
Not a lot of Jazz players have necessarily real personal connections to Kobe Bryant. Ed Davis was a Laker, was on the same roster with Kobe Bryant for a little bit. Quinn Snyder was on the bench. He was an assistant coach with the Lakers for a while, knew Kobe Bryant personally. So I imagine tonight there will be some tributes for Kobe Bryant when the Utah Jazz take on the Houston Rockets. Again, we'll have that here. You can hear it in its entirety here on The Fan. Pre-game coverage will be at 6:50. Tip-off will be at 7, so stay tuned for that. By the way, also at 7 on ESPN, they're going to re-air Kobe Bryant's last game where he scored 60 points against the Utah Jazz. Maybe you don't want to watch that if you're a diehard Jazz fan. It was tough to watch.
Yeah, it was tough to. Yeah, that was horrible basketball all the way around on both sides.
But as it stands right now, Jazz had a great win on a Saturday afternoon against the Dallas Mavericks. What a tight game. Tremendous play by Rudy Gobert late to elevate the team with that huge block on DeLon Wright to seal the deal for the Jazz. And currently they're in second place. They're just 3.5 games behind the Lakers, and they're taking on the Houston Rockets tonight. And Ajay, I've heard that James Harden and Russ Westbrook are not going to play tonight. Jazz are favored by 14.
Come out. So wait. Harden and Westbrook are out? Jazz keeps any more breaks than they're already getting right now? My goodness, no kidding, huh? All right. Yeah, that helps. That's great. And they're favored by 14 at home, as they should be. All right. Well, go Jazz. So let's go back to Saturday's matinee performance versus Dallas. What a big win that was. Clutch, gritty win. You see why Luka Doncic is what is regarded in the way he is, right? As a high-caliber MVP guy. He's that good. He's really, really good basketball player. Extremely smart. Very competitive. Hit some tough shots, some tough looks, and still knocked him down. Impressed, really impressed with Luka. But on the other hand, as you already mentioned, what Rudy Gobert did, and that block that he had, where he got twisted like a pretzel, still recovered and was able to get back and get a tremendous. That ball was that close from hitting the backboard, and that's a goaltend.
Yeah,
and he gets
got
there
it just in time.
Was awesome. And then of course Donovan Mitchell, fourth quarter. Donovan Mitchell is one of the most dangerous players in the NBA right now. There's no other way to put it. Rob Perez on Twitter, who's he's funny. But anyways, he put out there. He goes, I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is there yet, but he's becoming one of the most go-to fourth quarter guys in the NBA, and I could not agree more. I thought in the fourth quarter he was extremely good. And dude, with him and Gobert on the same page and in groove and in rhythm, it's a tough team to beat. It really is. And you got some big shots from the supporting cast, from Joe, from Bogdanovic. And I thought Mike Conley played well in the second half as well. I thought defensively he was really good.
Ajay, the Jazz only have 2 losses in the last month and a half. And those 2 losses are by a combined 7 points.
Holy cow.
8 points. 8 points. Nope, 9. I can do math.
Jeez, dude. Kind of taking the luster off of that, aren't you?
They lost by 3 on the road at Miami, and then they lost by 6 in overtime at the Pelicans. Other than that, they have won so many games in the last little bit here. It's insane. One of the hottest teams in the NBA right now. We wondered how this team would be as the competition level increased. So far, so good. And tonight, they're facing a Rockets team. James Harden is questionable because of a left thigh contusion. Russell Westbrook will not play because of rest, because it's a back-to-back game for Houston. Clint Capella is doubtful with a heel contusion.
Yeah.
So,
I think the Jazz are going to be
Jazz
okay
need to
tonight.
take care of business here tonight.
Yeah, they'll be all right tonight. Oh,
I
didn't know everybody's out.
But as soon as they're done, they hit the road. They have a game on Wednesday at San Antonio. Then Thursday, it's in a back-to-back. Thursday, they're at Denver. Saturday, they're at Portland. Portland's surging. They're still competitive. Don't ever count out Portland the way they're playing right now. Then they come back home and play those teams over again. They play Denver and Portland again. Then they go to Houston. They play Dallas again. So a lot of these teams that are going to play over the next little bit, they will play them twice.
Yeah,
it's an interesting mix the way that the schedule has worked here. Over the next month, they play a lot of the same teams multiple times. They'll play San Antonio twice. They'll play Dallas twice. Play Portland twice. Denver twice. The way the schedule works out.
Just want to look at it. I mean, they'll take care of Houston. I think they beat San Antonio. They lose to Denver. And they lose to Portland.
You think they lose to Portland?
I do. They struggle for whatever reason in Portland. They just can't get it together. I think they lose in Portland and they lose in Denver. So you go 2-2 in that stretch, which is okay, because then you'll beat Denver at home. Yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Right now, Portland is 2.5 games out of the 8th spot.
What is their record?
They're 20-27.
And they're 2 games out of the 8th spot, huh? Funny how that works. Yeah, you're right. This is an incredibly tough stretch. I hate to be that guy, but it really does help that Houston's not playing Harden, Westbrook, and maybe not Capella. That's wonderful. That is huge for Utah. Because Harden lights up the Jazz, Westbrook gives the Jazz trouble to the point guard position, and Capella gives Rudy Gobert trouble. All 3 are eliminated. We're golden.
Don't let some random player start getting hot from beyond the arc, like Gordon.
Yeah,
she can do
about that.
So the Clippers, by the way, they are 33-14 with their record, but they're tied in the standings with the Jazz, both 3.5 games behind the Lakers. Denver Nuggets are just a half game behind Utah. Then there's a little bit of separation. Dallas is 7.5 games behind the Lakers. They're 4 games behind the Jazz. Rockets also 4 games behind the Jazz. Oklahoma City is 5 games behind Utah. And then there's another drop-off. And Memphis, they are 14 games behind the Lakers, what is that, 10.5 games behind Utah. So you've got the number 1 team stands alone. You got really 2 through 4 that are all very, very, very close. And you got 5 through 7, all very close. And then you got the 8th team. And then San Antonio's not far behind Memphis. But then there's, it continues to drop after that. So this is a big stretch for the Jazz. They got to get this one tonight. I like their chances still in the next couple of games to pick up more wins.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I think, look, a 500, above 500 stretch here in the next 13, I think that'd be 13 games now, would be great. I'll take it. 8-5, 7-6. I'll take anything above 500.
Quinn Snyder, this is courtesy of some of our friends on social media who were at the press conferences earlier today. He was an assistant coach for the Lakers 2011 and 2012 season. And some of his comments about coaching Kobe Bryant and associating with him.
Just a unique human being.
Maybe.
There's a lot of people.
Maybe not.
When you, as you're getting ready to play that, I
guess we won't hear it. Never mind.
I've been impressed with, which is because Kobe loves being around high IQ basketball people when he's on the court, and he talked about Quinn Snyder in his final press conference in Utah about how high IQ that Quinn Snyder was. He said they would talk like deep terminology basketball. And he said the greatest thing is we didn't have to ask each other, wait, what does that mean? They both knew what they were talking about. He said as an assistant, he'd go to Quinn and say, hey, look, I'm seeing this. Or Quinn would come to him, hey, I'm seeing this. And again, it was deep terminology stuff. And he goes, and sometimes Mike Brown would be like, what are you guys talking about? And Quinn would be like, no, don't worry about it. We got it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry.
But Kobe would, understand, and the communication would be great between the two. And he said even when, because Coach Snyder was in Europe coaching for a little bit, him and Kobe stayed in contact. Kobe would give him advice. Quinn would, say, hey, I've been watching your game. Here's what I'm seeing. But the conversations he always said, he used it often, was the term high IQ, which that says a lot about Coach Snyder. And I know in that presser, Coach Snyder was a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
He understands what the loss of Kobe meant to the game of basketball, to him as a friend, and it got him a little bit.
Just a unique human being.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we can't hear the audio from that, but we'll try to find it another way. Anyway, so tragic loss. Kobe Bryant, yesterday morning is when his helicopter went down. His daughter was on board, and the NBA, others connected with basketball, mourning his loss. I'm sure we'll see some kind of tribute tonight from the Utah Jazz, which is appropriate, wholly appropriate. Whether you liked him or not, it's wholly appropriate.
Dude, he's an icon in the NBA.
For the Utah Jazz to pay tribute to Kobe Bryant.
What do you think? I mean, because we talked about how the game used to change in its era, as time. Do you think they'll ever change the logo?
For who?
I guess they didn't do it for Michael. I mean, would they do it for Kobe? I mean, would they ever change the NBA logo?
The NBA logo?
Yeah.
No. I doubt it.
I was just wondering.
Highly doubt it. It's copyrighted.
Is it really?
Sure it is.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. But I'm saying like the NBA couldn't change.
You could update it.
The NBA could change their own dang logo.
It's a good logo. It's appropriate. I don't think they'd change it.
You can't tell if he's dribbling left or right.
All right, some more thoughts about some of the things going on around the NBA. Next hour, we'll talk about Utah State. A nice win over the weekend against Colorado State, preparing for Wyoming. News in the Mountain West Conference. Good news and bad news in New Mexico. We'll update you on what's going on there. All that's ahead coming up on the Full Court Press.
The Aggies are number one here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen. Full Court Press rolling on here on a Monday. we'll continue to see in additional tributes that come out and the comments that are made about Kobe Bryant. We'll certainly be watching that closely and listening closely when the Utah Jazz play the Houston Rockets tonight, which we will have in its entirety here on The Fan starting at 6:50, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. But Ajay, I don't know where that came from. Let's look at the weekend that was through our pick six to see how we did. Any guesses? Do you think you won?
No, I got killed.
Why do you think that?
Because it was not a good, my weekend just sucked. So I lost pick six badly.
All right, so the first one was Jordan Love passing yards at the Senior Bowl. This was way high at 175.5. Both of us took the under. He was 4 for 6, threw for 26 yards. He had a little flea flicker. He kind of underthrew it, pressure coming at him, but still completed the pass. So Jordan Love participated in the Senior Bowl. Going to the Utah State basketball game against Colorado State, Sean Bairstow minutes. We set the line at 15.5. He actually had 12. I took the under, you took the over, so I got that right. So I'm 2 and you're 1. Who will score more points Saturday, Donovan Mitchell or Luka Doncic? They both scored 25, Ajay. It was a tie. Nobody wins that one. Neemias Queta points versus Colorado State. We set the line at 16.5. He actually scored 10. You took the under on that. I went over, so now we're tied 2-2. Donovan Mitchell assists versus Dallas. We set the line at 6.5. He had 5. I took the under, you took the over. So now I'm up 3-2. We come down to our last one. Ben Simmons will make a 3-pointer versus the Lakers, yes or no? Both of us said no, and he didn't even attempt a 3-point shot. So I had 4 correct, you had 3. It was very close. It didn't come down to the tiebreaker. Thank goodness, because we don't know the answer. Combined score of Adam Intern's church ball game.
I love how he plugged himself in there. No wonder you're such in a good mood today. That explains everything.
I don't know about that.
That sucks.
Coming up next hour, Utah State basketball and good news, bad news coming out of Albuquerque about New Mexico Lobos. We'll update you on that coming up next on the Full Court Press.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna is a terrible loss for the sports world and is being felt by so many people across the United States today and around the world. Words can't describe the impact of this sudden tragedy. His legacy as an athlete is cemented. He may not have been the most talented player of all time. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't far off. But that's not what made him so special. No one worked harder or had more of a will to win, and you could see it after he left the NBA. He had already won an Oscar, and he was well on his way to building a second career. He also found a second basketball life in his daughter, Gianna. Kobe said that he loved teaching her and hoped that one day she would carry on his legacy in the WNBA. It's a time to mourn, but also it's a time to celebrate. Celebrate the incredible life of one of the more defining athletes of all time. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. You will be missed. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise